Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dr. Cliff Reacts. I'm Dr. Cliff Olson, and in this video, I'm going to be reacting to a PBS interview that was done with Barbara Kelley. There's a lot of good information in this particular news piece, so I felt that it was worthy of going over. Of course, a couple of days ago, we actually had the release of over-the-counter hearing aid final guidelines, and that is basically what they were talking about in this particular piece. Now, before I get into it, if you could do me a huge favor, click that like button. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you have not subscribed already if you want to see more videos just like this one. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and see what this video is all about.
Nearly 48 million Americans have some level of hearing loss, but because of the high costs of hearing aids, many people who need them go without. But that could soon change. This past week, the FDA cleared the way for hearing aids to be sold over the counter, a new rule that could expand access to hearing devices for millions across the country. Joining us now is Barbara Kelley, Executive Director of the Hearing Loss Association of America. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I actually know Barbara Kelley. We have interacted a couple of times previously, nothing super in-depth, but like you said, she is the Executive Director of Hearing Loss Association of America at HLAA. You might be familiar with it, but she has a lot of good insight into what's actually going on inside of this world of hearing loss and hearing aids. So let's go ahead and see what she has to say.
And as I understand it, only about 30% of people who need hearing aids are getting them right now, and the biggest limitation has been cost. So how significant is this move by the FDA?
It's a huge move. In fact, 80% of people who could benefit from hearing aids don't get them.
So I've actually got to stop it right there. Now, he actually made the statistic quote of 30% of individuals who need hearing aids actually use them. Now, the hearing aid adoption rate inside of the United States, as of right now, is somewhere north of 34%. That was as of the most recent market track data in 2018, and that's actually up 4% from 30% that was back in 2014. So they're a little bit dated in their data here. And then Barbara actually said that 80% of individuals who need hearing aids don't get them. That is not an accurate statistic. At least I've not seen a statistic that says that. She is a good at least 14% off on that statistic. And the other thing that I want to point out here is that there is a misconception about cost being the main barrier to accepting hearing treatment. If you start looking at these other countries that actually provide their citizens with free hearing aids, their hearing aid adoption rates are only about 10 to 12% higher than the United States. So best case scenario, if you made all prescription hearing aids absolutely free, you would still have a significant gap of individuals who are not treating their hearing loss. So I don't necessarily buy the argument that if you have over-the-counter hearing aids that makes them less expensive, that you're going to have massive adoption of hearing aids. But let's go ahead and see what they think about it.
And it's not only cost that stops people's. Another is the barrier to care. Where do they go? It's really a murky process. And also there's stigma. Some people just don't want to take that step to treat their hearing loss because they associate it with older people. So we are really excited about this new avenue or this new pathway opening up as adding to the traditional pathway to care.
So I want to touch base on a couple of things she said, because she said a couple of different things there that were good points. Now, number one, she just admitted that cost of care is not the only barrier. I mean, access to care. So when I think about it, affordability and accessibility to some degree are two different things. Accessibility would be that you don't have anywhere to go to actually get care, or you don't know where to go to get care. Now, we're trying to help that and help educate individuals on where to go to actually get hearing treatment, but accessibility and affordability are issues, and hopefully this helps with both of them. The other thing that she talked about was the stigma surrounding hearing loss. Now, there is definitely a stigma. However, that stigma is starting to go away, and there's a lot more things that go into stigma other than just being perceived as being an older individual. Even though stigma is a problem, I think that there's a lot of people who do not associate hearing loss with old age anymore. I mean, I see younger individuals inside of my clinic all day, every day, and you can get hearing loss from a variety of different things. Age is not the only thing that gives you hearing loss, and I think that the more educated that people are about hearing loss, the more that stigma is going to continue to go away, and hopefully with over-the-counter hearing aids, it starts to make the conversation more normalized to actually do something to treat your hearing loss, whether it's with a cool new earbud that allows amplification capabilities and Bluetooth streaming and all of that stuff. I think that we're really going to start to see stigma go away significantly more.
Does this pathway, as you put it, does it apply to everybody with hearing loss? What groups would be most affected?
That's a great question. It specifically is for adults with self-perceived mild to moderate hearing loss.
That is a very good point. So she hit the nail right on the head. It is for self-perceived mild to moderate hearing loss. So you could technically have a severe level of hearing loss and believe that it's only a mild difficulty, and then think that over-the-counter hearing aids are actually going to work for you, and they won't. Now, there is some interesting anecdotal data that I heard from some of these direct-to-consumer companies that are out there that are already selling lower-cost hearing aid-like devices to consumers. It's just not regulated in any way, shape, or form. But that 2/3 of individuals who try to use an over-the-counter hearing aid are not actually candidates for those devices, and they don't glean the amount of benefit that they should from them, which means that only 1/3 of the individuals who actually try them are actually going to be getting benefit from them, which means that there has to be essentially some way to get the rest of the 2/3 into some form of prescriptive level care. We just got to figure out how to do that more efficiently and better, quite frankly.
So this would be, I've heard people compare this to going to a CVS or Walgreens and buying a pair of reader glasses. Is that sort of a fair comparison?
I think it's a good analogy because before you couldn't get glasses in your main store, and so hearing aids will also be available like the way readers are. However, it's really important to not make that comparison too literally, because if you put on a pair of glasses, they generally will correct your vision. But when you put on hearing aids, they don't necessarily correct your hearing.
I'm kind of confused by that a little bit. I mean, using hearing aids do correct the hearing difficulties that you have pretty significantly. And, you know, glasses, just like, all right, let's break it down here. If you have a poorly fit set of either over-the-counter hearing aids or prescription hearing aids, either one, they're not going to give you that much benefit. Same thing with over-the-counter readers. If you get the wrong over-the-counter readers or they're not as precise for what you need, then you're not going to be getting as much benefit from those. But if I were to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson here, back when over-the-counter readers came out, the optometry world just was like, no, 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 like you can't do it. It's going to harm people with their vision and stuff like that. And you know what ended up happening? People ended up going and buying readers over the counter and determined that, like, I'm getting some benefit here, but you know what? I really think I should go see a vision professional to get prescriptive level devices. And the sales of prescription level hearing aids skyrocketed. So if you ask me what I think or what I predict is going to happen inside of the world of hearing loss and hearing aids, I suspect that individuals are going to try over-the-counter hearing aids. They're going to determine that they're getting some benefit with those over-the-counter hearing aids, and then ultimately go in to see a hearing care professional to really make sure that they get the most benefit they possibly can.
What are some of the other important questions that people should be asking if they're in the market for one of these over-the-counter hearing aids?
Well, first of all, they should definitely read the box. We don't know what kind of products that are going to be on the market now. I mean, we have an idea, but it takes time to get used to a hearing aid. I mean, your brain has to adjust, your auditory system has to adjust. So people should look about return policies. And one of the things that our organization pushed for with the FDA were $45 return policies.
I think what she means is 45-day return periods. Now, some of these things, like she's mentioning right now, I mean, she's hitting the nail right on the head, is that there is going to be some level of confusion of whether or not you can actually return these hearing aids if you don't gain significant benefit from them. And it's just very interesting to see where this will ultimately go, because there are some things inside of these final guidelines that they still don't clear up for us. So it's going to be a little bit of a sketchy situation early on. We'll see if there's amendments to this as the future ticks by, but I guess we'll see.
Well, the FDA doesn't have this jurisdiction. It's really left up to the states or the manufacturers. So if there is a return policy, the manufacturer has to put on the box saying so. If they don't have a return policy, there won't be anything on the box. So I think consumers should definitely look for that. And if that product doesn't work for them, they should try another. And if need be, they may be walking down the path to see a hearing healthcare provider, which is an audiologist or a hearing instrument specialist.
I don't know if I agree. Now, she obviously knows what she's talking about, but I don't know if I agree that if one doesn't work for you, just go try another and then try another and then try another. I think that if one doesn't work for you, the writing is pretty much on the wall that you're probably going to have to go and find out why that particular hearing aid didn't work for you, which means that it's probably in your best interest to go at least schedule an appointment with a hearing care professional. Take the OTC with you, because there's potential that they could actually make that OTC device work substantially better for you. So I don't think that you should just jump to, oh, if this product didn't work, let me try that product. Or if I call the company, maybe they'll send me their next version. Or like, you can get caught in a trap there, and it's just not worth doing that. You might as well actually go out and find a hearing care professional who can help you with that.
You know, I was struck in preparing to speak with you in learning that hearing loss can affect other aspects of health. If you have hearing loss, there's a greater chance of developing dementia. Hearing loss also makes it harder for the brain. It makes the brain work harder because it forces you to hear and sort of fill in the gaps of what you're not hearing. Give us a sense of the sort of overall impact of hearing loss on one's health.
Well, through hearing is how we connect with all our relationships on the job, in our family life. And when that starts to break down, it interrupts everything. I mean, we like to say there's no such thing as a small hearing loss. But now we know that untreated hearing loss is associated with falls. And falls are the number one reason that older people go to the emergency room. With isolation, if you start having problem communicating because you can't hear and because you can't participate, you start to withdraw. And we know during COVID that isolation leads to depression and anxiety. And there's also a link with dementia. So it's really important that people start considering hearing health as part of overall health.
Barbara Kelley is executive.
So that's pretty much the end of the video here, but she is absolutely right. I mean, something that a lot of people just do not think about is all of the other areas of your life that is affected by untreated hearing loss. So she kind of lastly touched on this dementia link. And so even though we don't know if it's causal, we do know that untreated hearing loss is the leading potentially modifiable risk factor for dementia later in life. And we have studies that are out there that show that individuals who have untreated hearing loss, the rate of cognitive decline for those groups of individuals is much faster than groups of individuals who have treated hearing loss. Of course, increased risk of falls, never a good thing. If you are, I think, over the age of 80 and you suffer a fall and break your hip, the likelihood of dying from that is significantly greater than if you're younger than 80. So if you have untreated hearing loss in older age, that can actually lead to higher increased risk of falling. And then you have this idea of social isolation. So the crazy thing is that the leading predictor for longevity and a happy, long living life is social interaction. And if you start to withdraw because you literally cannot communicate with other individuals, your life expectancy is being cut shorter and shorter. So everybody thinks that like, oh, I just have a little bit of a hearing loss, I'm having some difficulty, I'll just turn up the volume on the TV and ask people to repeat what they say. That is literally setting yourself up for failure and potentially cognitive issues, potentially dying early. And I know that sounds extreme by me saying that, but that is literally what the data is telling us at this point. So if you are considering treating your hearing loss, whether it's with OTC hearing aids, whether it's going to a hearing care professional, I do not care. Go and do something. And finally, we have some regulation with the over-the-counter hearing aid guidelines being published. So come October, we are going to see that really take full effect. And then we should start to see some hopefully decent over-the-counter hearing aids hit the market. I do review different devices on my channel. So if you are not subscribed yet to the channel, make sure that you go ahead and do so. And as always, I'll see you next time.